I'm here at Capital University on this Sunday afternoon, joined with Nick Magateaux. He's the lead vocalist of Singularity, Columbus-based band. Thank you for joining me, Nick.
Thank
really
you,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thank you.
We have a few questions for you here.
Awesome.
If you could just start off by giving me a brief background on yourself and how you became a part of Singularity.
About 5 years ago, we had a little basement show. We mic'd up our equipment, and we ran through a couple of songs. We did some freestyles, and from there on, we were like, wow, let's continue doing this. So we did some more music together, and we didn't quite know we were going to be Singularity or what it was going to turn into. A couple months went down the road, we played some shows, and we recorded some demos, and then we just kind of bloomed into what we are today from there.
Great. Now, according to Martha Sims, she's the author of Living Folklore, folk bands often form on the basis of shared interests or skills. Obviously, you all share musical talents, but are there any other glues, so to speak, that hold you together as a band?
The desire to create, the drive to create. So we're all musicians, but I believe moreover we are all creators, and we use music as a medium to create. So with that, we want to make things, and we happen to work well when we make things together. Mm-hmm. So that keeps us going, that keeps us driven.
Great. Now, Sims also states that sometimes groups base a lot of their folklore and thus their identity on presenting themselves to others. In what ways, if any, do you present yourselves to your audience to convey your identity as a band? This can include clothing, chit-chat between band members while you're performing, etc.
Energy is the biggest one. When we get on stage, we want to give a sense of energy. We want to show that we have passion and that we have, once again, drive for what we're doing. So the more energy we have and the more just power we can put behind our performance, that's what keeps it. Yeah.
Great. Now, in Living Folklore, texture in performance can include features of presentation or performer style that affect the performance of a text, in this case a song, and the audience's reaction to it. You have a rather contagious energy on stage, to say the least. In what ways do you generate a stronger response from your audience through performance textures? And would you say that your performances are individually tailored to each audience or venue?
Well, we kind of want to, the dynamics is the biggest thing. So we want our lows to be lows and our highs to be highs, our softs to be softs, and louds to be louds. And as far as tailoring it to different audiences, I mean, if we're playing an acoustic set, that's different than playing a full set. If we're playing in a smaller crowd with 30 or 40 people versus a larger crowd, we have different kind of, one's more intimate than the other, but moreover, we just want to keep the dynamic quality there, and that's how we want to apply the most texture. It's like a roller coaster ride. We want to give them the most dynamic journey possible through the beginning of the set all the way to the end of the set.
Right. Now, I've been to about half a dozen or so of your performances. You definitely move around a lot on the stage. Oh, yeah. It's very clear that you're having a good time. How would you say that that affects the audience's experience of your performance? Would you say that your movement on stage can reciprocate the same thing in the audience?
Oh yeah, it's channeling. So we want to channel energy back and forth. So definitely a more dead audience, there's a lot less energy, and an active audience, you can just feel the ebb and the pull between you getting closer, farther away, the reaching out, the grabbing, you going in it, you going out of it. Right. Definitely the energy that they have channels our energy, which we channel between each other, and it's this big circuit of electricity that goes through everybody. So definitely that's how we keep the energy alive, and a lot of it's just kind of compulsive. It just happens, it just bursts. Right. So the bursting of the energy and the channeling of each person to person, as like the chain lightning goes through the crowd up into the band members and back around, is what it's a circuit.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Now, the physical settings and social situation in which members of folk groups share folklore, as well as relationships among audience members and performers, make up the context of the performance. How much of an effect do you think that context has on the success of a particular performance? And do you prefer more intimate or larger venues? We can think about venue size, location, the reputation of the venue, as well as the people that make up the audience, perhaps age, sex, race, disposition, culture, etc.
Well, getting on to the second part of that, I'll answer that first with the intimate versus less personal. I really prefer less personal. I get nervous before every single performance, and the less people there, the more one-on-one it is, and it's harder to completely unleash the beast when there's only like 20 or 30 people there, because it's kind of like everyone's, there's some space in between. It's very intimate. I might know a couple of them. When we have larger crowds, it is way easier for me personally to just let myself go, because all of a sudden you're just in a big ocean, and you can go wherever you want in the ocean. You can do backflips, you can jump around, whatever you want to do, but when there's just a small amount of people there, I find the channeling to be much more one-on-one, and that's what spooks me out. As far as the different kinds of people there, the more the better. Everybody and anything. And it's also different too when you're playing like a coffee shop acoustic set with older people there. Older people are great; they're wonderful. But a lot of times the energy is a lot different versus people sitting on chairs and having a quiet performance versus a really crazy crowd with crowd surfing and all that wonderful fun stuff.
Right. For my final question, in Living Folklore, Sims introduces the idea of a personal narrative in performance. That someone's own values, beliefs, attitudes can be shared like a story as part of a performance text or song lyrics. Yeah. Can you provide a specific example of a song that you would consider to be a personal narrative, and for what reason is this message worth sharing?
For me, lyrically, most of my songs are all very introspective. It's all, I may be saying you or having some kind of second person thing going on, but a lot of it's a conversation or a story told to myself from myself, either in hindsight or a greater me in my mind telling what I did to myself before. Not a good idea, or you shouldn't have done that. A great example would be Oh the Hole. It's one of our longer-esque pieces that has very distinct parts. There's the beginning, there's a middle, and then there's an end, a big end that wraps up with just a bunch of power and energy. And that itself is a song, a very introspective song. And same with one of our Root Beer Float is another good example of where that is very much so. Tell me I'm old when I'm young and young when I'm old. It brings a story of childhood and the fact that we want to grow up, but at the same time, when we start to grow up, we're like, I don't want to be a kid again. So we always, is the grass always greener kind of thing, and that's an argument and that's a conversation I have in my head a lot, and that translates to story, song, and text inside of my lyrical content.
Right, cool. Now, if any of my viewers here want to see you on stage in person, are there any performances coming up that you're particularly excited about? Any ways that our viewers can get involved? Maybe with social media or anything like that you care to share about?
Oh yeah, we have a SingularityColumbus.com. All of our social media is /SingularityColumbus. So whether you're going on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's all Singularity Columbus. The shows for the future, we are bogged down at the moment. I do a lot of production myself, so there's all sorts of things that I'm doing in my any second of spare time that I have. I'm doing a lot of personal productions and also freelance work that I've been doing. So as far as the band performing in the near future, not quite yet. We're gonna have a lot of content that's always on the internet, always on that kind of stuff.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for sitting down with me, Nick. This is
Thank you.
Nick Magateaux of Singularity.
Thank you guys. Oh yeah, excellent.